1580. What about you? Yeah.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time, whenever news breaks, while we're on the air. It's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. Thank you, thank you.
You could say it was a good day, at least a little better than the day in Baltimore. Does anybody hear us pray for Michael Brown or Freddie Gray? Peace is more than the absence of war. Another bloody day. We're tired of crying and people dying. Let's take all the guns away. Absence of war, you and me. Maybe we can finally say enough is enough. It's time for love. It's time to hear. It's time to hear the guitar play.
KBLA Talk 1580. Yes, she's back. The leader of the Prince fan club internationally. Also happens to be the director of Black Lives Matter Grassroots and one of the lead organizers for BLMLA. Host of This Is Not a Drill, Saturday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Melina Abdullah, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming back. As always, I'm always bugging you to come on the show. I mean, because not only you're my colleague and you're doing amazing work as a political community organizer, but also because you're a political scientist. So we get that analysis part, which is so important. But first, let me start by saying congrats on 12 years of Black Lives Matter, the movement and organization.
Yeah, thank you. It's a big deal to make it this far, and the work on the ground is moving so beautifully. We had a really beautiful convening over the last week, and it has me really inspired to do work and make sure that we're struggling forward.
Yeah. A convening means you had chapters from all over the country and actually now the world come together to do what?
To come together, we came together to skill build, to also remind us. It was, for me, it's a reminder that what the work that we do here in Los Angeles is not isolated from the work that they're doing in Hartford, Connecticut, and the work that they're doing up in Santa Clarita, and the work that they're doing in Birmingham, which actually was one of the only chapters that was missing because they had to miss to go to the funeral and support Jabari Peoples' family. So just a reminder that we're part of a worldwide movement for Black freedom.
Yeah, I noted that you have 51 chapters, which is more than ever in the history of Black Lives Matter, Grassroots, which is the actual Black Lives Matter. And we're in this time of repression, the clawback of many of our accomplishments and movement landmarks. What do you make of that? The fact that there are more chapters now?
I think it's a reminder that, Angela Davis teaches that freedom is a constant struggle, right? And so when we face down repression, when we come to the recognition and understanding that even if cameras turn away, and they have, many of the cameras have turned away, police are still killing Black people, right? Yesterday was the birthday of Mama Ida B. Wells, who's one of the mothers of the first anti-lynching movement. Well, we're still in an anti-lynching movement. And Black people have never sat quietly by and swallowed our own oppression. And so I think the growth of Black Lives Matter speaks to the time, because we're not going to sit by and swallow our own oppression. We're going to fight. And for the new chapters, we had 11 new chapters come on. For the new chapters to come on, it speaks to the need to fight, and the complete resistance to oppression that we see happening.
Well, I started out the show, and I'm going to start doing this every day that I remember, with some kind of pledge or quote reminding us to be fearless, because I feel like I'm delivering all of this terrible news and insanely mind-bending movement that's happening from Washington and really the global rise of fascism. And I don't want to be part of the fear epidemic. I want to be part of the courage epidemic. And so I'm going to keep telling the stories, but I want to frame them with reminders and inspirations for us to be brave. And that's one of my takeaways from not just hearing about 51 chapters, but meeting a lot of these folks when they were in town, is that the courage is contagious, and people are not being deterred by what's happening in Washington at all, or the fact that the cameras have turned away. It's not impacting them in terms of, I think I'll go, watch the Real Housewives of something or other.
Right. No, they're not turning away. And you asked why we came together. We came together to remind ourselves of that, but also to skill build, right? How do we do this more effectively? How do we communicate our messages more effectively? What's the importance of consistency? Yesterday, every Wednesday we protest in front of now we do it in front of the Hall of Injustice, in front of Nathan Hockman's office, to end police associations, but also as we set up to oust Nathan Hockman, who's an absolutely terrible district attorney in Los Angeles County. And so I mentioned yesterday was the birthday of Mama Ida B. Wells. Yesterday was also the birthday of Assata Shakur. And when we think about Assata Shakur, people often give this definition of insanity, that insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And so one of the things that I had to share is, we're now really 8 years into these protests, because 4 years against police associations, we had 4 years against the previous DA. So really 8 years of every Wednesday protests, right? And I said, is that the same thing over and over and expecting a different result? Well, maybe that is insanity. Maybe that is crazy. But what Mama Assata, who's still very much alive and well and inspiring and reminding us and pouring energy into the movement from Cuba, where she's exiled, Mama Assata reminds us that only the strong go crazy. The rest just go along. So even if it feels crazy to keep protesting, it's much better to do what seems crazy than to just accept what's being handed to us, to accept Black death, to accept, the rounding up of our people and the targets on the backs of Black folks.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you could call it crazy, because you're expecting different results, but if we look at some of the Black Lives Matter LA and BLM campaigns in the past, you did the same thing over and over and over and over and then it finally worked, right? I mean, I think about Jackie Lacey, I think about Chief Beck, where that was a lot of protesting and showing up for even Kevin De Leon, for a long, long time. But in the end, it wasn't crazy because in the end, there was a victory, or at least, some portion of a victory.
Right. Well, after I spoke, Vernine Mincy, who's the sister of James Mincy and one of our really fearless organizers and courageous organizers, Sister Vernine, I actually met her through you, right, as on the trip to Ghana. And
yes,
she's become a really integral part of BLMLA. She said, she spoke right after me, and she said, this isn't crazy. This is called consistency.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's right. It's like going to the gym every day. Why do I keep doing this? Well, because that's how you stay strong.
Right.
But I want to congratulate you, and I just really want to. One of the reasons I'm harping on the 51 chapters is because I do feel very committed at this point to making sure we are emboldened, fearless, and unafraid. And I think understanding that there are people, young and old, mobilizing in 51 different parts of our country inside prisons. There's one in Sweden that are saying we are going to get information to fight back. To me, that's emboldening.
That is. And it's inspiring, and it reminds us again that we're not alone, and that there's lots of folks willing to fight. We have to be willing to fight. We have to be 10 toes down in the fight, especially when, all-out war has been declared on us. Yeah. So we have to be willing to fight.
Lots of comments in the chat. E.C. Courtney, God bless and peace be unto you. Queen Abdullah. Molly Bell says, I remember when I went out of my way to meet you, Dr. Melina Abdullah. You are a real one. And Carl Tucker says, thank you, Black Lives Matter. Keep up the good work. Warrior women have always been the backbone of the struggle for freedom. Asante Sana to all the sisters. We'll continue our conversation. I do want to talk about Jabari Peoples. I don't know if people are tracking this case, but I know you are. We'll look at that and more when we continue on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we aim to foster enlightening, sustainable, restorative dialogue, and we welcome unapologetically progressive viewpoints that empower fellow citizens. We are now accepting submissions for KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorials like this one.
For the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley Show conversation with James Farr. James said something that caught me off guard. Black out the Dina is gone. My community is being murdered. I said murdered.
All you have to do is go to our website homepage at KBLA1580.com and click on the icon that says KBLA Guest Editorials to learn more about our editorial standards and content submission guidelines. As long as the topic aligns with our mission, we are happy to review your submission and consider it for broadcast. We can't make any promises, but we want to amplify progressive perspectives perspectives that are community-focused and solution-oriented. So, go to KBLA1580.com right now to download all the information you need about our guest editorials. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy. In 2011, I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind: to help honest folks out of their timeshares permanently. Today, I run Wesley with my two sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company in the United States. Fortune magazine even recognized us as one of the best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-687-7979. That's 800-687-7979. 800-687-7979.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Right now we're talking with Dr. Melina Abdullah, who is the director of Black Lives Matter Grassroots, the real, actual Black Lives Matter that does things that we expect Black Lives Matter to do. And she's also a professor, Pan-African Studies at Cal State LA. I'm asking you today to have both hats on, the poli-sci hat and the organizer hat. We'll say his name, Jabari Peoples. This is one of those cases that puts an arrow straight through my heart. This child had graduated from high school in 2024. Killed by police in 2025. Went to just finished up his freshman year at Alabama A&M, studying computers and criminal justice. Was thinking about becoming, allegedly, a cop or investigator of some kind, maybe a detective. And then what happened?
And then Jabari Peoples was sitting on the same soccer field that he grew up on with his girlfriend, sitting in a car, and was approached by a cop in an unmarked vehicle. And they did what most of us would do if we were approached by a man with a gun. They ran, and Jabari Peoples was shot in the back and killed. This 18-year-old child was shot in the back and killed. And they're attempting to cover up the murder. The video has not been released. Black Lives Matter Birmingham has been driving every single day from Birmingham to Homewood to demand justice in Jabari's name. They've taken over the mayor's office, and they've been demanding the release of the full video in the name of Jabari Peoples.
And I think the governor of the state even made a statement, if I'm not mistaken, saying they'll release that video when they get around to it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, most of the elected officials are saying things like, be patient. Well, Jabari Peoples was killed almost 3 weeks ago. And when you talk about the deaths that are not of young Black children, I'm going to call him a child because I have an 18-year-old child the same year in school as Jabari. They don't ever tell them to be quiet. They don't ever tell them to wait. And what's the wait about? We want the full video. We don't need them to edit it for us. We don't need them to narrate it for us and tell us what happened. We actually already know what happened because we have the autopsy, that it was a shot to the back. And we are demanding justice in the name of Jabari Peoples, and we won't wait. We won't be quiet. We want to know what happened to Jabari, and we want the cop who killed him to be held accountable, as well as policing in Homewood to be held accountable.
I'm trying to figure out how you can justify, I always feel like when they say, I feared for my life, but the person was running away. That's always a problem. Walter Scott cases where the cops say we were in jeopardy, and then it turns out the person was running away and they shot him in the back. Even if the person has a weapon, they're running away. But in this case, the cop is not even identified as a cop because they're in an unmarked car and they're not in a uniform, right? So how do you justify shooting a kid that had no idea you were a cop and you're just a person with a gun?
Right. Well, also, I mean, we know that there's also the issue of why was Jabari even approached?
Yeah.
Why was he even approached? What would you want your child to be doing on a summer evening? I mean, it's the most wholesome thing this child could be doing, sitting there with his girlfriend on a soccer field. What else could he be doing? I think that's beautiful. I think that's what children should do. I always say that I have two happy places in the world. Lake Merritt, because we from the Bay. Mm-hmm. Oakland, Lake Merritt. Sitting by that lake, even when the algae has grown, it's still my happy place. But here in Los Angeles, my happy place is Kenneth Hahn Soccer Field. My children grew up on Kenneth Hahn Soccer Field, and sitting on that field, listening to the laughter of these black children kicking a ball around, watching the sunset, which becomes magenta right over that field. That's my happy place. And, if I talk too long, I'll become emotional because that's what I imagine Jabari and his girlfriend doing, is sitting in a place of peace. And this cop felt entitled. They shouldn't feel like they even are entitled. They should not be entitled to approach our people who are simply living, and then much less to terrify and terrorize them by pulling guns and chasing them. They ran towards the woods, chasing these teenagers and stealing Jabari's young life. Again, if I talk too long, I'll become emotional because I won't apologize for it. But these are our babies. These are our people that continue to be gunned down.
And it's and Jabari was an adorable. I mean, I've never met him. I'm just looking at pictures, and was an adorable young person. It seems like most of the time when they don't want to release the body cam footage, it's because whatever they're saying to the press or whatever the police report says doesn't match the reality of what actually occurred. And I think that's what the family is saying here. If people want to support the family or track this, what do you suggest?
Sure, they can follow Jabari Peoples, but they can also follow BLM Birmingham or BHAM Stands, BHAM Stands, STANDS, and their Instagram has all the updates.
Yeah. I'm thinking about, the fact that I don't know if most people realize, I always hear people say the Black Lives Matter era like it's something that was over, like it was 2020 and then gone. And again, that's another reason why I say, okay, but there's 51 chapters now, and there were way less than that in 2020 if there, if there was even a sort of organized organizational structure like you have now. But I say that to say that this, the cases are not going away either. That's the other reason for the organizing. We might think, oh, well, we marched and then things got better in terms of how many people are being killed, how many lives are being stolen by police on an annual basis. But that's just not true, right?
Right. Well, actually, 2024, again, was the highest year on record for police killings. So more people were killed by police in the United States in 2024 last year than any other year on record. So the cases are not going away. But here's the encouraging light, that in cities where there are strong Black Lives Matter chapters, you do see a drop in the killings. So in cities like Los Angeles, we're able to keep that number at bay. Not that we're doing well, but they know there's going to be a response. And so the only answer to them killing us is organizing. And organizing means being at police commission meetings every Tuesday. Organizing means going to the County Board of Supervisors meeting and demanding that they continue to fund Measure J and enshrine Measure J as much as is necessary to uphold it, right? Organizing looks like protesting every Wednesday. Organizing also looks like passing policy. The point is we can't let up. Freedom is a constant struggle, so we must continue to fight for Black freedom. And we'll fight and we'll win. We'll win. We're winning, and I hope we get to talk about some of those policy advances that we're making that are moving forward in the name of people like Wakeisha Wilson. And it's taking 9 years, but we're winning.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that, because I think some of these local victories in LA definitely have national implications, or at least I hope they do. We were referencing Waukesha's law, which was put forth by Assemblymember Isaac Bryan. It's meant to force notification of families if their loved ones are killed in custody, murdered in custody, or if they're gravely injured or sick, right?
Yes, Waukesha's law is almost through state Senate and prayerfully will become law in September. That's the prayer. And so, yes, it's a very just basic, humane, necessary policy. And we're pushing it forward in the name of Waukesha Wilson. Right now, if someone is killed in custody, they don't have a requirement to even notify the family. And in the case of Waukesha Wilson, LAPD never notified her family that she had died. And so they went on this really horrific 4-day journey before they learned that their loved one had been killed inside LAPD Metro Detention.
Yeah. So, and hopefully, we're just seconds away from news, traffic, and sports, but hopefully that means that we'll start to see more of these kinds of laws passed locally. I know Sidney Kamlager is carrying the bill that Congresswoman Bass tried to pass, but with Republicans controlling things, it's highly unlikely that something like a Waukesha's law would pass nationally. But right now, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. And like you said, that's basic. You kill my kid, you got to tell me. You kill my wife, my sister, my cousin, you got to let me know. We'll continue our conversation with Dr. Melina Abdullah when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Governor Kathy Hochul says New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani must repair ties with the Jewish community after controversial remarks.
I said you have a lot of healing to do with the Jewish community. Many of your words have been hurtful and hateful to people in their interpretation of it.
Hochul, calling herself therapist-in-chief, is urging business leaders not to panic over Mamdani's Tax the Rich plan, which she opposes. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal has introduced the Stop ICE from Kidnapping U.S. Citizens Act to stop immigration agents from detaining or deporting American citizens. The bill follows reports of Latino citizens being wrongly held. And Barack and Michelle Obama are laughing off divorce rumors. On Mrs. Obama's IMO podcast, the former First Lady said there's never been a moment that she thought about leaving her husband. The couple says they're stronger than ever. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Joe Buck and John Smoltz welcoming you back to the City Center Convenience Mart. Uh-oh. She's looking at the cigarettes, but she just grabs the gum off the counter. Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer. Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Is this the takeover?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Chargers are the first NFL team to open training camp. The Chargers are scheduled to conduct full workouts today in El Segundo. First day of training camp for the Rams is Tuesday, July 22nd at Loyola Marymount. Hall of Fame basketball player Oscar Robertson was given the Arthur Ashe Award for Courage last night at the ESPYs, the sports world's version of the Academy Awards. LA native Russell Westbrook presented the award to Robertson. Robertson, now 86, was the first black president of a sports labor union. The 12-time NBA All-Star was president of the NBA Players Association when the players players won an antitrust lawsuit against the league in 1970. The victory led to free agency and higher salaries. The average salary for an NBA player today is $11.1 million. The league minimum is $1.1 million. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Catch Prep is now enrolling for summer credit recovery in fall 2025. As South Los Angeles' top-performing high school in English, math, and college access, Catch Prep is welcoming all 9th through 12th graders to enroll now. Catch Prep offers a small, supportive, and safe learning environment to help all students succeed, so that all students feel valued, respected, and motivated to reach their full potential. For the past 20 years, Catch Prep has helped more students of color gain admission to top-tier universities, with our graduating seniors earning a total of $3 million in scholarships, more than any other school in Los Angeles. We are dedicated to helping all students turn your college dreams into reality. Catch Prep is now enrolling. Visit us online at catchhighschool.com or call 323-293-3917. Spaces limited. Please enroll now for summer credit recovery and fall 2025. Call 323-293-3917 or enroll today at catchhighschool.com.
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley show conversation with James Farr. At one point, James said something that caught me off guard. Not because it wasn't true, but because it is. Black Altadena is gone. I know it may seem stupid and non-productive, but I stopped in that moment listening to Tavis and James. I broke down and cried. In the back of my mind, I told myself we can bring it back like it was. But James Farr's reality check hit me like a ton of bricks. My community is being murdered. I said murdered, not by the Altadena Eaton Canyon fire, but by the people we elect to protect us, and by greedy and gatekeeping nonprofits who cannot see the forest for the trees. For the first time since the fire, I truly feel and understand my wife's inconsolable pain. Because I'm struggling to find a path to recovery and at least some form of normalcy. My community is crumbling right in front of my face. Lack of funding to rebuild is slowly destroying us. Many of us can no longer hold out, and developers are gobbling up our property. When I hear voices like Tavis Smiley and James Farr speak truth to power on KBLA Talk 1580, it reminds me that we're not crazy, just unheard. Make no mistake here, KBLA delegation, this is war, and we the people of Black Altadena are losing. It's like waiting for reparation. Not gonna happen, brother. In this new orange man world, no one, no entity is persuaded by right or wrong. There is no consequence for doing the wrong thing, and no accolades or support for doing the right thing. Will war-torn Black Altadena survive? Your guess is as good as mine. But what have I got to lose? I'm in my 70s and don't have time to wait. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once suggested that riots break out when people have no hope. But there's nothing left to burn down in Altadena. I wish I could say I remain hopeful that my beloved community will rise again like a phoenix from the ashes. I wish I could. With a KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Pasadena Community Coalition at gmail.com. Reach out to me. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, we're talking with Dr. Melina Abdullah, and I guess we can get into our speed round because I got a bunch of questions for you. When you referred to policy and legislative victories, talking about Wakeisha's law, what else were you thinking of?
Sure. Well, we're also working on a bill in the state legislature, also with Isaac Bryan, AB 7, which will give preferential admission to the UCs and CSUs for descendants of enslaved people. Won a major victory on that on Monday, getting it through the Senate Judiciary Committee. So we have now 2 more steps until that bill gets onto the governor's desk. And I think it's really important that we understand BLM Grassroots is both moving things to protect us from and to dismantle the system of policing and prisons that harms and kills our folks, but also we're visioning how do we build for Black freedom. So this bill is not, AB 7 is not reparations, but what it does is set up things so that the descendants of enslaved people can become a legal category and we can advocate from that position. So we're really excited about how this bill is moving. Excited. It's always great to be among a bunch of young people. So we had dozens of youth up there talking about how college and California universities are changing their lives, and access to higher education changes their lives, and how that should be accessible to them. So that's something else we're moving.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it on another day. I happen to think that is reparations, but people don't agree with me. It's an unpopular opinion, but we can talk about that on another day. I'm glad to hear it. I'm not saying it's all of reparations, but I think it references, it ties directly into what the California Task Force, Reparations Task Force asked for. That said, again, maybe not something that would need to be done in every state, but certainly something that would have implications for every state, because if it's adopted and wins in court, it does firmly establish this idea of descendants of enslaved persons in this country as a group, a specific group that has legal standing, right?
That's right. That's right. And when I say it's not reparations, we don't want to get into some of what happens sometimes when you start to define smaller victories that come without checks as reparations. We don't want to get into that debate. Let's get this passed. And we do understand it's reparative, right?
Right.
It's reparative, and it's helpful to Black people. And I do think it could be replicated. Every public university in the entire nation should be giving admission and special consideration to the descendants of enslaved people. That is a step forward. Now, we still want our check, but we want this as well.
Yeah, there's also a bill. I don't know if you're working on it or not, but this Scott Wiener bill about prohibiting law enforcement from wearing masks in the state of California. And I understand there is, I can't remember who, but somebody is introducing something on the national level to do the same thing, although I think, again, snowball's chance in hell with the Senate currently controlled by Republicans.
Yeah, both Scott Wiener and State Senator Sasha Perez have bills barring the wearing of masks and barring kind of the hiding of who really ICE agents are. But remember, these ICE raids set it up for people to be kidnapped, and we're starting to call them kidnappings, to be kidnapped off the streets, to be wrestled from their walks home from work into unmarked vehicles. We cannot have that. We cannot have that. And so there's 2 bills, and Black Lives Matter Grassroots is not signed on, but my labor union is. The California Faculty Association is co-sponsoring the bill with Sasha Perez, is supporting the bill with Scott Wiener, which has been fast-tracked as an urgent bill that needs to take effect right now. And again, those bills are advancing in California, and what's giving them momentum is movement on the street, is the refusal for people to allow this to happen. Again, this is an instance where news cycles are trying to move on, but the people are refusing. So they're now, if you want to know what's happening in Los Angeles, it's not like we're just allowing ICE to continue to kidnap our folks. There is an encampment happening right now in front of the Federal Detention Center downtown. They set up shop and are staying there 24 hours, demanding the release of people who've been, in many cases, wrestled from their walks home, dragged out of court buildings, dragged out of Home Depots and wrestled into vehicles and set up for deportation, many times with their families not even knowing where they are.
I haven't had a chance to talk about this, that the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit vacated Marilyn Mosby's mortgage fraud conviction last week. They still are keeping the perjury convictions, but they're saying that they gave bad jury instructions and they didn't have enough. The evidence was insufficient to establish the venue. And I also noticed that at the same time this is happening, which I consider good news because I feel like it was just retaliatory for her work as a prosecutor there. I noticed that the Trump administration is saying they're going after Adam Schiff, so I'm thinking we're going to see more of these retaliation-based lawsuits and criminal investigations. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, well, I'm grateful that Marilyn Mosby's conviction was overturned. We remember Marilyn Mosby was targeted because she dared to move forward with prosecutions after Freddie Gray was killed in Baltimore. And so they targeted her. They specifically tried to show this brilliant, courageous Black woman, this is what will happen if you go after a police state, if you go after a system of policing that kills Black people. So I'm grateful that her conviction was overturned. You can fully expect, and Donald Trump has said this loud and clear, that he is using the court system as well as deportations in the police state to come back on his political enemies. I think he took to, what is his social media?
It's called Truth. It's just like him. He's a liar, so he has to call his platform Truth. Liar probably wouldn't be as popular.
Liar would be much more truthful, right? But he said he's going to try to deport Rosie O'Donnell. I was like, wait, what's Rosie O'Donnell been saying now? I got to follow Rosie O'Donnell. But, he's very clear that he intends to be retaliatory. You can fully expect him to come after both his political enemies, meaning elected political enemies, but also he's made threats against Black Lives Matter. He's made threats against the ACLU. He's made threats against even youth activists like Greta Thunberg, right? So we have to be very clear that we as people who believe in freedom, we who believe in freedom cannot rest, in the words of Mama Ella Baker. And so we have to make sure that we're pushing for the protection of our people, that we are truly loving and protecting one another, as we know that the state is descending upon our most courageous folks.
But I'm pretty sure Ella Baker didn't mean you can't sleep. I just think she meant you can't rest.
Right. I agree.
If you know, you know. In any case, Mosby ended up getting just 12 months of home confinement, which she's already served, and now she'll be on supervised release, and she'll have to do community service, which is okay. We're talking with Dr. Melina Abdullah. Black Lives Matter Grassroots is the organization which she is the director of. She hosts a show Saturday mornings around here, 8 to 10, called This Is Not a Drill, and she's lead organizer for BLM Los Angeles, or one of the lead organizers. We'll keep it going. We'll take your phone calls, all that straight ahead, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
It's never too early to start talking about money in realistic ways with your kids. JP Morgan Chase navigates how to educate your kids now about creating long-lasting, healthy money habits. Whether your kids are in elementary school, high school, or college, now is a great time to start a conversation about ways to create healthy money habits as they grow, ultimately benefiting their financial future. Talking about money in a realistic way to support your kids' lifestyle and dreams, your first banking account geared towards high school or college. It's never too early. Explaining the basics, what you earn and what you spend, building financial confidence starts with getting organized. Learning and practicing vital money skills now will stay with them for life. Tools they will have to stay on top of their finances and achieve their goals. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase. Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, also known as AD, a type of dementia that affects memory, thinking, and behavior, making everyday tasks challenging. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? There are things you can do to help reduce your risk for developing AD. Managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure is crucial. Staying physically active, maintaining social connections, eating a healthy diet, and keeping your mind engaged with activities like reading or puzzles can all contribute to brain health. It's also important to recognize some common signs and symptoms of early AD, such as forgetfulness that causes problems with everyday life, asking the same question a few times in a row, and difficulty concentrating on basic tasks. If you see these signs in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatallzearly.com. That's treatallzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Hi, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., inviting you to join me weekdays at 12 noon, right after Tavis Smiley, here on KBLA Talk 1580. As a law school graduate and a theologian with a firm grasp of our body politic given almost 2 decades in Congress, my show is the fresh new home of an authentic, uncompromised quest for transformation and salvation, both personal and collectively, as I vigorously interrogate the theological and symbolic meanings embedded in our society. I promise to leverage my knowledge of history, theology, and both international and domestic issues to imagine an inclusive vision for the future, which I hope will inspire all of us to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as a given, not just an aspiration. So join me weekdays at 12 noon right after Tavis Smiley for 2 hours of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
Dr. Melina Abdullah is my guest. If you want to follow the Right to Black Lives Matter, the one that's actually doing the work, we do what?
Follow BLM Grassroots on all social media. BLM Grassroots is who we are on all social media. And, of course, if you're in LA, I hope you're following BLM Los Angeles on Instagram and BLMLA on X for what we're doing locally. But we're really, really excited to have 51 chapters, and a lot of what's moving around the world is posted on BLM Grassroots. And also on our website, blmgrassroots.org, we just put up our action report, which outlines a lot of what we've done over the last year so people can see the work that's been moving. Everything from supporting our Youth Vanguard to our hands-off student work, hands-off students work to, of course, responding to police violence and advocating for just policies that lead us closer to freedom. But that, of course, freedom only comes when we struggle for it, fight it, and win it.
Yeah. The Senate just passed $9 billion in federal spending cuts that were requested by the president, and among those is a huge cut to public radio, public media. That's going to be not good. Not just because of the information that those stations do, but they do things like tsunami warnings, and of course it'll go back to the House, and they'll definitely pass it. But the freedom of press, I was thinking, it sprung to mind because I know that you're still battling this, the people that stole the money that was donated to Black Lives Matter Grassroots, and the people that stole the platforms. They're called the BLM Global Network Foundation. And it just reminds me how hard it is to get anything out besides sort of what the mainstream media narrative is. And they're now constantly under threat from the president, as CBS and others literally paying him millions of dollars. How do you see the shrinking of public media funding in that context?
Right. Well, I was on kind of public media. I was on a Pacifica station for a long time, and it's really important if we think about everything, not just news, but the way that we educate our children, right? If we think about things like we grew up on, Sesame Street, right? If we think about, the ways in which we learn about the world and how to engage in the world, if we think about nature, right? All of these are part of what we expect when we talk about public press, when we talk about public media, public radio, public television. It's essential when we think about commercial mainstream media. It's whoever has the deepest pockets. Coca-Cola can pay to have ads on NBC, so NBC is not going to air stories that condemn Coca-Cola or what they're doing to destabilize Venezuela, right? And so it's really important that we understand that where the money comes from for mainstream media absolutely means mainstream media is not of the people. And so public media becomes all the more important. That's why independent Black media is so important. KBLA is so important because KBLA, we got to think about where the resources come from, and Tavis's commitment to being really progressive rather than kowtowing to funders. And so it's important that we also, as consumers of media, really begin to curate our own media sources. Where are you getting your information from? And so it's important that we seek out who's telling us the truth, right? Where can we get truth from?
Yeah, a few things here. Carl asked if the bill will be for all of us here in the USA. If those bills pass in California, they will only impact California, Carl, but I'm hoping that they could become models for other states. Kwamel wanted to know the status of DeRay McKesson. Is he still part of Black Lives Matter? Does he work with Grassroots?
So DeRay McKesson was never a part of Black Lives Matter. He was an activist who came up and became quite visible during the Black Lives Matter movement, and especially in its early form, but he's never been a part of an organization. One of the things that's really important, although he initiated something he called Campaign Zero, and then a brother that I work with, Sam Singh Yahweh, will talk about how he kind of, in his view, hijacked mapping police violence, which a collective was leading. Here's something that's essential to organizing, that organizers are part of organizations. Why is that important? You need a collective to hold you accountable. And so Black Lives Matter Grassroots has never been about one person. It's about a collective so we can hold each other accountable. So DeRay was never a part of an organization that collectively moved us forward. I'm not condemning him, but I'm saying that's why he was sometimes off a little bit when we talk about his stances on things.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to D calling us from Long Beach. I had a couple more questions, but I'm going to defer to Mr. D. Good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
I want to give you the Economist Cliff Notes on Donald J. Trump.
Okay. Yeah. Give the Cliff Notes is the short version, so that sounds good because we're near the top of the hour here.
Donald Trump is from the Chicago Boys School of Benevolent Dictators in the mold of Augusto Pinochet. Now, we hope he's not going to be that oppressive, but his strategy or his MO is that you maximize growth and then you worry about redistributing income after the fact.
Okay, well, I hear your radio echoing. I don't see the benevolent part. I guess that's the part I'm missing. Dr. Abdullah, your thoughts?
I think we already know that Trump is a dictator. Trump is the devil. I would say dictator is too small of a word.
Wow.
Trump is the devil. We got to be real about that. And how do you fight evil? We have to fight evil. We have to do good work, put out good work. And I don't want to get pulled down by the massiveness of the devil that we're facing. Just don't become it and be willing to engage in the fight for good, the fight for right, the fight for God, really.
Official Prison Talk says donate to BLM Grassroots. I know that's part of what has to happen now since the Global Network Foundation, it even sounds creepy, Global Network Foundation, has absconded with the money. You are asking folks to donate if they can, right?
Absolutely. We move by people power, but people power is always helped by a few dollars, so that we can do the things that we need to do, including things like make photocopies, have food at meetings, right? Those kinds of things. So absolutely. And I'm sure that that must be folks who are supporting the freedom of Jay Burton as we move towards Black August. We remember our political prisoners, including those of previous eras, but our current political prisoners like Jay Burton, like Brittany Martin, who we helped to free last year, and many others.
Got 60 seconds here, Dr. Melina Abdullah. How would you like to use it?
Thank you, Dominique. Well, we'd love to have people plug into the work. So follow BLM Grassroots on all social media, but also know that when we put out these calls to come out, we mean you. We need you there. We need your presence. We do need your contributions, including your financial contributions. We need your voice. And just to kind of underline it, we want to remind folks that when you showed up on Tuesday at the Board of Supervisors meeting, you won something. They are enshrining Measure J into the county Board of Supervisors, into the document. So they're enshrining Measure J because you spoke up. Our work matters. So please plug in at BLM Grassroots, BLM Los Angeles for local stuff. And I'm Doc Melly Mel on all social media platforms.
Doc Melly Mel, president of the Prince Fan Club. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Sister Dominique.
All right, we're talking holistic well-being. Mental, physical, spiritual, all of that when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Governor Kathy Hochul says New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani must repair ties with the Jewish community after controversial remarks.
I said you have a lot of healing to do with the Jewish community. Many of your words have been hurtful and hateful to people in their interpretation of it.
Hochul, calling herself therapist-in-chief, is urging business leaders not to panic over Mamdani's Tax the Rich plan, which she opposes. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal has introduced the Stop ICE from Kidnapping U.S. Citizens Act to stop immigration agents from detaining or deporting American citizens. The bill follows reports of Latino citizens being wrongly held.